D.C. Now he is getting ready to come to the podium to speak. As soon as that takes place and he takes to the stage, we will bring that to you live. And we continue tonight with former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin, also the co-host of The Five. She deals with Beckel 5 days a week. Dana Perino, and from the Fox Business Network would be Stuart Varney. Governor, can you imagine Beckel 5 days? That's almost like Matt Lauer 5 days a week.
The grace that is all over you.
All right, before we get to some serious issues, you did get to co-host the Today Show today, and we all had an opportunity to see it. Let's run a little bit of the governor with Matt Lauer. I might even say the lamestream media. Take a look.
When you were plucked from obscurity in 2008, you'd been Alaska's governor about 2 years. You didn't have any real experience on the national stage. And in this era of intense media scrutiny, you took some lumps. You had mixed results, as we all know. Do you think if Mitt Romney's the nominee, he should choose someone with more experience on the national battlefield than you had at the time?
Well, you know, I would put up my record as a CEO of a city, of a state, as an oil and gas regulator, up against any of the other potential GOP vice presidential nominees last go around.
If you were advising Mitt Romney, would you say go out and get someone who is battle-tested on a national level?
I would say it doesn't matter if that person has national level experience or not. They're going to get clobbered by the lamestream media who does not like the conservative message.
No truer words have been spoken. All right, so first of all, did you have fun? Did you like that?
It was a blast. Lots of energy, lots of chaos, and you know, it makes it look real smooth once the television cameras roll. But it was a blast.
But you had that experience being an anchor reporter in Alaska from
back in the Stone Age. Yes, reporting sports.
No, those are your
yes.
All right, did you know that Katie Couric was co-hosting on Good Morning America?
It wasn't just a coincidence that I was on this morning up against some competition down the plaza.
So there was an appeal to you that she was on the competition.
I'm not sure how it all came together, but I am one for good competition.
I really like that.
That's because when the ratings that I saw before,
they didn't come out for today yet.
But, well, first impressions.
Oh,
some of them, yeah. I don't know.
Is that true? They came out?
I don't know.
She's not worried about the ratings, Sean.
She doesn't have to worry about them. She's a Q magnet, as we say in this industry.
I want to know what you were thinking when he was asking you that question. Like, what were you really thinking?
I thought, well, this could be worse. In fact, I've had worse in interviews with them. You know, with questions like, what do you read up there in Alaska to stay connected with the real world, where you're rolling your eyes like, are you kidding me? Are you really asking me such a question? And my answer at the time was, everything. I read everything. And from there, you saw where that answer got me, right? It went into...
You know, it is interesting, though, because this is a moment where obviously NBC was a little bit nervous. ABC's Good Morning America is getting a little close in the ratings. And it's funny that when they need an audience and they need their ratings to go up, they go to one of the strongest conservative voices in the country. I found that very fascinating.
Well, you know what, where they're missing out, and we talked a little bit about Oprah and her new own network, and why it's kind of struggling. And my suggestion to some of the challenges that she faces is bring some conservatives on. You know, we are a center-right country, aren't we? And we don't want to just be inundated with a message that does not resonate with patriotic conservatives in America who just want to know what more of the solutions are out there.
You are a natural. You just say what you think and what you know, and it flows. You communicate with the audience, and they watch. That's why.
Wait, here's the next natural question, too. If Oprah called you and said, would you like a show on my network? Would you, and of course she's willing to pay you the amount that you're worth, which is about half her wealth.
Yeah, right.
But would you consider that?
You know, I think that there is a lot of room out there for more conservative voices, diverse personalities out there who can talk about issues that really are affecting people's everyday lives in America.
But I think the first thing you have to say is, no, I'm on the Fox News.
Everybody's always putting her on the spot.
I know. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. One thing we haven't talked about, which is really, really important.
As I try to spin out
I'm not sure if the president knows there was this little decision in 1803 that was called Marbury versus Madison, and we had a Chief Justice John Marshall who actually said a law repugnant to the Constitution is void, as he dealt with the principle of judicial review, because these were his comments yesterday about the Supreme Court dealing with the issue of health care.
4 years, what we've heard is the biggest problem on the bench was judicial activism or a lack of judicial restraint, that an unelected group of people would somehow overturn a duly constituted and passed law. Well, there's a good example, and I'm pretty confident that this court will recognize that and not take that step.
Well, go ahead.
It's astonishing to hear that.
It is.
The president is a constitutional scholar, and he's challenging our constitutional form of government. He looks like, sounds like he's bullying it, attempting to intimidate it and subvert it. And coming from the president, a constitutional scholar, that was an amazing thing to hear. And then today you have a federal judge saying, you didn't really mean to bully and intimidate, did you? I want an explanation in writing, 3 pages, single-spaced, no less, on my desk, Thursday at noon. Okay? Got it?
Yeah.
That's astonishing to hear that kind of thing.
I totally agree. Dana?
When I first heard it, I was shocked. But when you hear it again, it doesn't get any better. And for him to get it so wrong. And then you could imagine that the counsel's office at the White House worked all night long to help him come up with a better answer today. And it was not convincing.
I don't think he can walk that back. This is the second time, though, that he has done this to our justices. The last time was at the State of the Union address.
Embarrassing the justices at that time. So how much more evidence does an American voter need to understand that this president is not only just merely in over his head as a constitutional scholar? No, this is the community organizer in him coming out. How much more evidence do all of us need to understand that we cannot afford this flexibility that he is seeking in his next 4 years that he's asking for his ineptitude the next 4 years? We cannot afford to go down this road.
When you couple this with, for example, the comments that he made supposedly off mic with President Sarkozy and the comments that he made with the president of Russia, and I will communicate this to Vladimir for you because he's in the middle of an election year, is there an agenda that exists with the president that he will only tell people? What is he telling people in private that he's not telling the American people?
Right.
If he doesn't understand Marbury versus Madison and what the Chief Justice John Marshall said at the time, and the historical precedents here, that's frightening to me.
Well, is there an agenda? That is the $17 trillion question, Sean. What is the agenda of Barack Obama and the people that he has surrounded himself with to do this to our country, to not understand that our Constitution is the blueprint towards a more perfect union, and he doesn't want to follow it?
One of our colleagues on the 5, Greg Gutfeld, had a great line that if it wasn't for the hot mics, we would have no idea what was going on. Part of the problem, I think, for them defining what they would do in a second term is they never finish the second part of the sentence, which is, I want to be president, I deserve to be president for a second term because what? What does he want to do? Right now, what they've decided is that they can win either way. What if the court actually rules in their favor? Well, then, are they brilliant and not ideological?
Why do I suspect he was tipped off?
I don't. My instinct is that it is not.
There is some speculation about that.
There is.
Why do I suspect that he wouldn't have done this had he gotten a better report?
I think the president is positioning himself very much politically. He thinks he's going to lose 5-4. He's positioning himself to say, I tried. I wanted to give health care to 30 million Americans, but 5 unelected judges stopped me from doing it. Whose side are you on, voters? Vote for me. He's running against the banks, the oil companies, the
vote for me.
Now the Supreme Court.
And he offered an alternative. He said, well, if we don't have the individual mandate, we're going to go to a single-payer system.
Which is worse. It's going to the left.
Go back.
And if you don't, 2/3 of the people, roughly, say that they think that the bill is unconstitutional. That doesn't mean that they don't like some parts of the bill, but they think that it is unconstitutional. So what is he actually saying? Vote for me, and you will get fewer decisions that you like from the Supreme Court? Yeah. It's not very convincing. I don't think that they think through to the third step. Maybe to the next step, to the next day, and then tomorrow there might be something else.
What does it say that the president, I mean, he was even, they're now blaming, Israel having to position itself against Iran for higher gas prices. He's blamed all of us on this table, your former boss, Talk Radio, Fox News, Ed Gillespie, the tsunami, the earthquake.
Don't forget Karl Rove.
Kiosks, ATMs, Karl Rove, and why can't he doesn't take any responsibility? Doesn't it really come down to an election? Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
It does come down to that, but he must point the finger of blame away from himself. He must move away from his own record. His record is debt, slow growth, high unemployment, a housing crisis. None of those problems have been solved. All are going to get worse in the future. All will get worse in a second term. You must deflect blame away from yourself and point and create an enemies list. Yeah. You've got to point at the bankers, the oil companies, the Supreme Court, and everybody else.
And you have to add that it will not work.
Governor, look, maybe from your experience having run in 2008, he can't run on the issue of are you better off than you were 4 years ago.
That is why we see these constant diversions and distractions. We see capitalization on crisis. It's all about diverting.
All right, Governor, we'll continue with our panel here in just a second. As you can see, Governor Mitt Romney, who swept Wisconsin, Maryland, and D.C. tonight, hits the podium.
He's a great leader, wonderful speaker, but he's not going to take Ann's place. I got to tell you that. Thank you for providing the thank yous this evening, Congressman. Thank you also to Senator Johnson and to Congressman Sensenbrenner. Appreciate their being here and the participation they've had in this process. And thank you to Wisconsin, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. We won them all.